Yo, welcome back, guys. We have another key review. Getting straight into it. We are once again back with Emma's Fotzlav. They were the first key review subject. However, the key I think that we looked at last time was from a couple weeks ago. This one is a little bit more recent, so we'll see kind of what they practices they've implemented and how much we improved or what we can continue to improve on. So our opener, Chow Strike, Flag. Whoa, I gotta slow this shit down. Alright, love playing sub. This shit goes way too fast. One of you guys suggests I slow down certain sections, so I'm gonna try that. We're gonna go 0.5 speed here and just kind of look through the opener because your opener is quite important here. So actually, I'm gonna go back even further here. So one thing you can do during the gather, you have 1 hour tricks, right? So you're not really worried about threats. I would be applying ruptures to these mobs as we're gathering or heading into this pull. Utilize the time that your tank spends grouping mobs together to get your ruptures out. And at a certain point, it is a good idea to start thinking about actually applying flag to one of these mobs during the gather and using your first 2 or 3 ruptures to just ramp that flag. For when the mobs eventually get grouped up, you have pretty much a fully ramped flag going into your first dance. However, at the bare minimum, it is a good idea to apply ruptures. We don't do that. We go straight to our prio mob. You hit Shadow Strike into flag, correct order, into a rupture, love that. We then go into a trinket, dance, symbols, blades, backstab, I assume. I love this double defensive. You're in your cooldown, so you don't want to think about pressing any. You don't want to think about dodge mechanics. You don't want to think about any cast that might go off on you. Press every single defensive in the book, and then just slam abilities. Okay. I also do this sometimes. I mean, it can be good to hold defenses for certain mechanics and certain abilities, but I respect it. And there are definitely times I do this myself. As sub, you get like the vast majority of your damage out in your cooldown window. So you having like one or both defenses available that you can like hit on to, or hit on, it's kind of not the right phrasing, to hit to then ignore mechanics can be a big win if it enables you to maintain uptime. So W. I don't know about pressing both of them, but W. As far as the order is concerned, I really like the beginning here. Ideally, the Shadow Blades comes after the backstab. Otherwise, I think your Shadow Blades and Trinket are macro together. That's totally fine. But yeah, ideally move it like right over here, and that would be perfect. I'm guessing the Shadow Strike is a fat finger, right? We're already at full comp points from our pre-med. And well, Shadow Blades at this point, this should be into a Sec Tech. We'll see what goes down. Sec Tech pot, potting our cooldowns, and we're into Black Powder spam. Okay, this is very good. So if you guys remember if any of you guys watch Emma's key from the +8 mode load they sent me a while back. Actually, it was published not too long ago, but this is we're a lot closer to the like perfect sub opener than we were in the last video, so big ups. Now I'll assume the Shadow Strike was a fat finger. That's fine. Sec Tech into Shuriken Storm is correct and perfect, right? This pull is more than 7 mobs. We can see with the Rupture tracker here, or the number of with the target count of mobs here. There's 15 mobs within the rogue's vicinity, so you want to use Shuriken Storm as our second builder after pressing Dance. Right, backstab, it would be Sec Tech, ignore the Shadow Strike. Backstab, Sec Tech, Shuriken Storm, Black Powder, perfect. And then we're Shadow Striking into Black Powder spam. Here we send a blind. It kind of sucks spending a GCD for group control here, but sometimes you'll have to do it, so. I will say if you're trying to blind these wind-up mobs, the loader bots, they're actually immune to incapacitate, so you can only stun them. So if that's what you're throwing blind for, you can just hold it in that case. It doesn't actually help you out there much at all. But ideally, yeah, we're Shadow Striking and Black Powder. Perfect. Very nicely done. As our first dance here comes to an end, we chain it. I would hope. Yes, there it is. Dance, symbols. We have full comp points, so we Black Powder. Into a Shadow Strike, into Cold Blood Secret Technique. Oh, we are so improved. We are so downloaded. There's so much. we're using our cooldowns correctly. We're setting 2 dances, 2 symbols. This is awesome. Our sec tech is within 2 finishers of our symbols. This is good because it means our sec tech will benefit from our supercharger talent node. Again, the builders are pressing immediately after dance could be better. Remember, always want to backstab first global after your dance, or as your first builder, and then your second builder wants to be Shuriken Storm. So we'll see if we Shuriken Storm here. Double finisher proc, that's good. And we Shadow Strike. Okay, so in a pool of more than 7 mobs, ideally we would have Shuriken Storm as our second builder. Shadow Striking, however, is fine. Now we're outside of our dance, so we're spamming Shuriken Storm and Black Powder. That's great. Now something you could do if the mobs had a lot more health at this point, since we're out of our cooldowns, our flag window has expired, is you could apply ruptures to these mobs. But everything is low enough health that I'd probably be doing the same thing. Just Shuriken Storm and Black Powder. But this is also where, like, had you applied ruptures ahead of the pull before you went into cooldowns, those ruptures would still be up right now, and that would be like more efficient damage than the kind of Black Powder spam you're doing now. So there is some amount of like foresight and that goes into like wanting to apply your ruptures ahead of time, and it's especially good during the gather. But I wouldn't generally suggest holding your cooldowns to try and apply ruptures to every single mob in the pull, especially once it's gathered. Once it's gathered, you're better off just going to your cooldowns. The risk is if you try to apply ruptures to too many mobs before you go into the pull, the pack might die before you actually get your full flagellation window out, right? Anyways, let's speed up the key or speed up the video and proceed from here. But yeah, I do want to highlight the fact that much better cooldown press. Really like this. We have an out of dance. We have an out of cooldowns, Shadow Dance, and symbols that goes out. Again, Secret Technique is within 2 finishers. That is pristine. Now we should be using Shadow Strike as our primary builder in our dance. It looks like we're still using Shuriken Storm as our main builder. So that's one thing I would suggest changing going forwards. But outside of dance, using Shuriken Storm and then Black Powder is A-okay and pulls greater than 7 targets. So, and we spent a lot of time on that poll, but we'll keep the video going here. I do like kind of walking through at least one of these cooldown sets because that's sort of where most of the like relevant happenings occur as sub-rogue, is how you play out your cooldowns. All of your damage is baked into that small window, so making sure you're executing that correctly is a big part of playing the spec well. We have our cooldowns come up here. I would probably send, and we do. Yeah, Flag, Blades. We backstab first global, again, very good. Shuriken Storm second global. We have hella finisher procs here, super good. Very nicely done. Yeah, we're playing this quite well, doing a lot more damage now. Like to see this. And now again, same thing when we were going into this pull, but try to utilize the gathers to apply ruptures. We'll see kind of what the gather... let's pay attention to the gather on the next pull and see what that looks like. Okay, we'll see. Okay, we have an... I don't know how I feel about this Shroud timer. Okay. Dude, this is the craziest Shroud timer of all time. Okay, so we're going into boss here. Again, rupture these mobs coming in. Now, these mobs aren't super important, so maybe if instead you were just go start rupturing the ads on the boss here, I think that would be fine. We have cooldowns up. We have dance and symbols. First dance. Now we're sending into the boss. So this is looking good. Unless you are much improved. This is awesome to see. And we're doing hella damage. 11 mil on the boss pool. It's a lot of good stuff. Now in this fight, there's kind of like two. You don't ever really want to hold like cooldowns for any moment on this fight, right? Because if you don't kill the ads fast enough, like what we see now, the boss gets a shield and starts doing damage to everyone. So we need to kill the ads reasonably quickly. And then we also have a 200% damage amp we can utilize during this jumpstart window, which ideally you're pressing dance, symbols, and a sec tech. Yeah, exactly. So you kind of, this is a fight where I'd think of like, you basically press your cooldowns on cooldown, whether you're sending them into the boss when the ads are out, or if you're sending them into the damage amp. Both are good uses, right? There's not really any not important part over the course of the fight. If you use them on pull, like what Emma did here, holding like at least one dance and symbols charge for the damage amp is a good call. So at least you save a little bit of damage that you can send into that 200% increased damage amp. So the way Emma's playing this, really, really good so far. The only suggestion I have at this point is when we're outside of our dance windows, utilize ruptures. So the moment these ads spawned, tab target, make sure each of them have a rupture out, and then go back to the exact rotation you're doing now. So in this case, we have fewer than 7 mobs. So we're Shuriken Storm into Eviscerates is what we're trying to do while we have Flawless Form active. And when Flawless Form falls off, we want to backstab. Also, if the boss has the shield on them, you're better off hitting off the ads. The boss takes like 99% reduced damage, I think, or some amount of reduced damage. So you're just better off hitting off the ads if the that shield goes up. Okay, so something I want to point out here. We have cooldowns coming back in 20 seconds. We have 2 symbols charges. We have 1 dance charge. At this point, I would hold dance and symbols for when our cooldowns come back. We'll see what Emma here does. Nice, so it looks like we're sending them. And this time, we are tab targeting and applying ruptures. Beautiful. This is exactly how I would play this. This is exactly what you need to do. And because we have two symbols charges, and we have close enough to 2 dance charges, you don't need to have exactly 2 dance charges to press your flag, but you want to be like, have 1 charge and maybe 20 to 30 seconds remaining on your second charge coming up. You should be able to farm back that second charge within your first dance window. So, at this point, the boss has a lot of health. Like this, because the damage amp exists, you could probably send cooldowns here. Yeah, it looks like we do send cooldowns here. I think that's correct. If you don't send cooldowns, the ads are probably going to be alive for a while. The boss is going to get a shield. This fight's going to take needlessly long, so I think it's a good call to send CDs. Also, I do want to go back here. We haven't really looked at the single target or fewer than 7 target cooldown rotation. Let's see what we're pressing. So again, we need to train ourselves to press Shadow Blades and Trinket for after this first backstab. We don't need to have Shadow Blades up for this backstab because premeditation exists. If we have Shadow Blades up, Shadow Blades guarantees our next build, or any builder is used within 15 seconds to generate full combo points. But because pre-med does the same thing, we're not utilizing our pre-med. So move these 2 abilities till after the backstab. We sec tech, and this should be into. We only want to. We backstab as the first global, that's correct. We only want to Shadow Strike. There's no Shuriken Storm needed in fewer than 7 targets. So get rid of the Shuriken Storm and just Shadow Strike Evis. We're spamming it. Chain our dance. Backstab, perfect. Into sec tech. And nice, finish the boss off here, and this is a good start to the key. Okay, going to this pull. We Shadow Strike into Ruptures. I would apply Ruptures to all the mobs in the pull. We are into a dance. We don't press symbols with this dance. Always, I talk about this in the guide, but if dance, then symbols. If symbols, then sec tech. So because we press dance here, symbols has to be a global that follows. It's possible we just forgot, so I won't pay too much attention, but we definitely want to send symbols with these dance charges. Especially now because in the event that we didn't send it, we're now sitting on 3 symbols charges, and we're not utilizing our cooldown from that ability, and from having multiple charges available. That is like a big plus to playing Sub-Rogue, is because you have multiple charges of things, like Dance and like Symbols, it gives you the flexibility to sit on 1 or 2 charges in the cases of Symbols, and not waste cooldown, right? So you can kind of... That's really what enables you to move damage around. Okay, going to this pull, I'll be looking to hit off the Blood Warper. It's the highest health mob in the pull, which we're doing. Usually, I would either kick that mob or the Sniper in this pack. Those are the 2 kicks here we need to concern ourselves with. It looks like the Trick Shot goes off. That's very scary during the Seal Absorb. We managed to live through it, though, so that's W. We cloak there. I respect that. Can these Demolishonists... Or Demolitionists? What do you call them? I think they're bugged, or they have 2 casts. One is reload, in which they're like reloading their RPG, and one is when they use the RPG itself. The reload cast is like 6 seconds. The actual cast of the mortar, or whatever the ability is called, is like 2 seconds. And for some reason, occasionally this Demolitionist and the one... I'll say downstairs, I think we've already killed at this point. They will just spam the mortar ability, and they won't reload. I don't know what causes that. I don't think that's intended, but it can be pretty annoying. So often it could be a good idea if you're going to that pull as a rogue, just toss out a kidney on that mob before you go into your dance or cooldown window. It's helpful to get out early too, because it's a really long stun. And if you wait too long, there's a good chance it'll be DR'd from other people in your group that are using AoE stuns and stops like Chaos Nova, Leg Sweep, Cap Totem, things of that nature. Okay, we're into another cooldown set here. Again, we're still pressing Shuriken Storm inside our dance, which is not ideal, but we do have a pool of 7. It was like 7 to 8 mobs there, and we were using Black Powder as our finisher. That is correct. So that's good to see. We're topping the meters as well. Nicely done, nicely done. Also, I noticed one difference from looking at this key compared to the last. They flashed their gear towards the start of the key. I'm actually going to go back here. 1042. Make a mental note of that. I don't really talk about the gear much, but we are much higher eye level, relatively speaking. I think we have 4 set. That's tier, that's tier, that's not tier. These 2 are tier. Yeah, so we have the new 4 set. We have the Jaster's Diamond randomly. Okay. 675 crafted weapon. And we also moved away from the Transmitter Trinket, which I know a lot of rogues don't like playing in favor of the PvP Trinket. If you didn't get a Mythic Track Transmitter last season, and you don't yet have House of Cards, suffering through some PvP to farm out Conquest and buy the PvP Trinket is actually a decent option. I think it's like crit secondary stat, and then as it's a 1-minute cooldown trinket, which gives you a chunk of main stat for like 15 seconds. And it actually sims pretty good. So if you're still using like a 2-minute trinket, or you don't yet have a House of Cards, this could be a decent option. And that's what MS is using right now, because I remember they were using Transmitter last time. Last key, but let's jump back forward again here. Next pull, 2 double Shredinators. Usually I try to pre-wall the Shredinator cast, so I'm either going to press one of Feint or Evasion. Often I'll have Cloak for the Flamethrower, which it looks like we press. We do have a Death here. We don't have cooldowns, so this pack might be living for a little bit. And actually, this is an interesting situation, because whenever cooldowns come back, I would probably send. I'm curious to see what Emma's does here. If their DPS hadn't died, the health of the mobs would probably be a lot lower, and I think it would probably be correct to hold for the boss. But because we have a death, I think we send for safety. which is that to kill this pack back faster and get our DPS back faster. So DPS releases here. Yeah, another DPS goes down. I would definitely send here. And there we go. Nice. So we do get into our cooldowns. During this pull, other things I'm thinking about are trying to set one of the surveyors as a focus, so I can just focus kick it while I'm hitting off one of the shreddinators. Man, that is tough to say. Otherwise, just pummel into the mobs. Also, I do want to shout out that we are much better at holding our dance and symbols charges for cooldowns. I say that as we immediately press a dance when we probably shouldn't have. Okay, so this is the first instance of probably a bad shadow dance press. You have your cooldowns coming back in like 10 seconds. If you had held that dance and that symbols, you would be perfectly equipped to just go straight into your cooldown window. But now that we press dance here, if we try to go straight into our cooldowns, we probably won't be able to farm back our second dance. So we'll just see that play out here. Good thing though, that was happening. We're hitting up Bront. That is very good to do. Bront will always die slower this fight. If you're playing in a group and you have any ranged DPS, beg that they hit off Bront. As a melee, it is very hard to get uptime on Bront when he's doing his charges around the room. And because he has more health than the other boss, he often dies a lot slower. Because when he's charging around as a melee DPS, you're just going to hit off the other boss, quick fuse. So using the time while they're together to hit off Bront, very good. Anyways, we have cooldowns come up. What are we going to do? We're holding. We get a charge. Okay, so we do get stunned here. We don't die, though. Very nice. I would set the other boss as a focus on this fight. So when you do get charged, you can focus step to Kiza quick fuse. Now, it does mean you have to have a focus set and also a focus shadow step macro. But if I look at your binds here, I don't know what B4 is, where the shadow step is. Here, I'm going to rewind and press play so you don't see the bar. But I'm going to assume that B4 is like a mouse bind. If you can just make it like shift B4 as your focus step macro, then I think that's a pretty easy solution. Or you can just target quick fuse and shadow step them that way. That would also work. We're going to put in a charge here. Nice. Okay, that works just as well. So good charge bait and shadow step back to the boss. We did send our cooldowns some point. I want to go back and look at those though, because I think we only have one dance charge for it. Yeah, so we press dance blades. And we're not going to be able to chain a second shadow dance right away. We're having to farm it back a little bit. That is not ideal. It doesn't end up being super punishing. But we're not able to fit our second sec tech within our Shadow Blades window. Partly because of missing that, not being able to press our second Shadow Dance on cooldown, and also partly because we press our Shadow Blades a little bit earlier than we need to. That gives us less time to squeeze in our second sec tech, so two sides of it there. But otherwise, the rest of this boss, pretty straightforward. I mean, you're guiding charges around, and if you have this spell on you, go run and get dispelled by some bombs. So I'm going to skip through the rest of this here. Don't think we need to see it. Okay, so we're going to move past and pull these disturbed kelps. These mobs can be kind of scary. I like using blind on this pull for when they all start spinning. And also, I like chaining feints here for when the damage goes out. You can pretty quickly go from 100 to 0 if we're not aggressively using stops. And unless you're kind of coordinating that in a team, if you're just hoping that other people stop before you, it might not go super well. So we can see our health dip very low there. We end up pressing feint as a kind of a reactive measure, which is better than not pressing it, but that's something I'd be looking for. We're going to go straight into the third boss. We do one more pull here. Yo, editing shindig here. As I was watching this back, I noticed something we can do that gives us a little bit better CDR between pulls. See how we're sitting on full combo points right now? We could actually, before we go into this next pack, just rip a quick black powder. So that'd be black powder, go into stealth, then you would shadow strike into the pool, start applying ruptures, so on and so forth. And the idea here is that because we generally shadow strike as our first global going into a new pack, right? That's why we're entering stealth. And with premeditation, that shadow strike is guaranteed to give us full combo points. We can use the full combo points we had prior to going into the pool just to give us a little bit more CDR on our dance, on our secret technique. So that's a small piece of tech you could think about. It's not super important, but thought I'd mention it. Anyways, back to the video. Okay, so we have cooldowns come up. What I would do in this situation is I would shadow strike, flag, rupture. The pool is like immediately gathered, so I don't think it's worth spending too much time applying ruptures to too many mobs. So I'd probably flag, rupture once, tab target, rupture another mob, so we have 4 ruptures out, and I just go into my damage at that point. If you risk applying too many ruptures, the pack will probably be dead before you get your full cooldown send out. So we'll see what happens here. Okay, so we rupture once and we do not send cooldowns. I'm guessing we're holding for boss. That is reasonable. Ethical choice. I don't necessarily know if it's the correct choice. Because what this means is you might lose out on a cooldown use. Like 1 total cooldown use over the course of the key by not sending here. Right, this pack is going to live for... Is there a timer? Yeah, there is down here, bottom right. This is basically going to be plus 1 minute of time you spent non-cooldowns. Potentially more now that your DPS is dead. So at this point, when you get this guy rezzed and go into the boss, we pretty much lost a full cooldown usage. So I would, in that situation, I would definitely would have sent. However, I understand the sentiment of holding for boss damage, because as sub-rogue, that is a big strength you have. So if you're playing with a group and they're like, yo, we need you to just pump this boss. Like, the boss is the pain point for us in this key. I need you to slam it. Then that is also a totally valid argument. But we're doing our cooldown rotation. Looks pretty solid. And we're dodging the balls. Oh, also, I see we have cheat death. I mentioned before that often I'm trying to, specifically on the shreddinator pulls, whenever they're dropping the saws in the ground, I'm pre-fainting or pre-dodging. That's really only something I think I would recommend doing if you're playing elusiveness, because you get DR from pressing those abilities. If you're pressing evasion, or sorry, if you're, oh, unlucky ball set there. No worries. If you're playing cheat death, not pressing cheat death, you don't really get the same value from those abilities, so you probably, there isn't really much need to pre-feint or pre-evasion. You just have to be more mindful of dodging and getting out of those saws when they spawn on the ground. But this is a pure single target fight, not super interesting. As long as we're using our cooldowns correctly, that's the important thing here, which cooldowns for sub in single target, it's the exact same as what you're doing in up to 6 targets, so, and we've seen how their rotation looks, so we're gonna skip ahead here to the end of the boss fights. So I don't really think we need to look at this. Into Bubbles. Bubbles is also another single target encounter, or mini boss. We're gonna send cooldowns here. We have multiple charges of dance and symbols, so we have big damage here. We're not able to fit in a second sec tech in our blades window. I think that's because we're clearing with cloak, yeah. I respect the cloak to clear the bubbles, but I think you're better off just holding cloak for backwash. If somebody in your group dies to bubbles, I mean, that's their fault. Your tank can move the boss away from the bubbles in the ground, and I think backwash is threatening enough of a mechanic where you want to have cloak available for that ability. Especially if you're not playing elusiveness, you're a lot more squishy and vulnerable to the dot. Right? You can feint to the initial application, but the dot's going to hit you for full dam. Okay, next pull. So we're going to pull the jump starter here. This can be pretty scary, especially if we chain in the second pack, which it looks like our shaman is tagging. We have one caster right now, Electrician, and often we pull the second caster pack in with this Dark Fuse Jump Starter. Basically, if any cast, we have to dodge circles on the ground, we have to dodge the inspectors, and we need to also stop any casts from going out. This can be pretty, yeah, we do chain it in. This is very scary, especially as a melee DPS with a melee kick. Often having to kick a mob means running into a circle or running into a jump starter frontal to like kick, and then you have to run out immediately. So that can be pretty suspect. What I try to do this pull is lean into blind. Like if I have to stop, if I notice something's going to go out, but I'm not in melee range, yeah, so we end up going down here. I'll just like blind to buy myself time. Then I'll run in and kick it as the next on the recast, whatever ability it's doing. So that can be a helpful tool there. We'll do one more pull here. So we sent cooldowns in the last pull, so we don't quite have them back up yet. I would not hit this mob. Yeah, we got to go to this next pack for sure. That inspector will make its way in eventually. Not important. We apply just one rupture here. I would highly encourage getting the habit of trying to apply more ruptures or ruptures to mobs that will live meaningfully long, which I think in this pull, like I would count 1, 2, I can't really see the health bar behind here, but let's assume that's mostly full. 3, 4, 5, 6 mobs that could all be ruptured, and that would be like your most efficient global here. Now, yes, that does mean you delay going into your dance and symbols, but your dance you're not losing any CDR, any like cooldown timing from your dance, right? Applying those ruptures, you'll farm back cooldown, but it's not like you're wasting any. The symbols on your hand, I guess you are wasting cooldown, right? The longer you spend not pressing it. But we've seen instances where we just press dance and not symbols. So I think if we fix that habit, then symbols will also be, on cooldown like dance. And using the time here at the beginning of the pull to apply ruptures is a lot more meaningful. We have our cooldowns up, but we're going to hold them for the next pull. That is the correct move to make. Now, something you can do here, and sometimes I'll do, is I'll have cooldowns available. The pack is not yet dead, but it's close to being dead. There are situations where it's correct to press dance, symbols, and sec tech here. Because while that means you then don't have 2 dances and 2 symbol charges available for your cooldowns, right? Your cooldowns are available. You're not setting cooldowns until you get to the next pull anyways. And often you'll have you're pressing that dance now with the intent to farm it back before you go into the next pack. So that can be a decision you make if you decide not to send cooldowns. However, these mobs are low enough health to the point where I think not pressing dance and symbols is probably the correct thing to do. We'll see what Emma does here. I mean, we're gonna hold. Yeah. So nicely done. I think that was the right decision to make. All right, we're at 95% count, so we should be able to skip this. Yep, Mind Soothe. And run past. Oh, we butt pull. That is unfortunate. Okay. This guy just got too close. Your surround me core is hilarious, by the way. Okay, nice. So that's actually impressive that you guys managed to... These 3 people managed to avoid getting in combat. Where are we going? I guess we're starting the RP. Okay. Good stuff. Okay, on this pull, so notice we've had multiple instances where we've ran out and we're not getting uptime. We've pressed our cooldowns. This is very, very bad. So what we do differently here, again, we're doing the same thing. Find your tank and move with your tank. Okay, wherever your tank goes, the mobs will follow. So a safe bet for maintaining uptime on this pull is to always follow your tank. That should leave you in a much better position to not lose this many globals. We also have cloak. I would definitely cloak here to help maintain uptime. And at least on one of the circle sets, like just ignore it outright. But on the other end of the spectrum, you have playing extremely greedy, and then potentially dying to the circles. So, you know, running out and not dying is respectable. You do more damage alive than you do dead. So that is a dub. Into the last boss. Okay, so this fight, another single target encounter. We don't have damage on pull because we sent to the last pack. That's fine. And we're in a good spot. If we don't press dance, if we don't press symbols, we'll have sufficient dance and symbols charges for our cooldowns, should they come up in the next 15 seconds. Gigas on this fight, definitely utilize Cloak for Gigazap, this dot. On higher key levels, this thing starts to absolutely really truck. And the only other damage event is the AoE when he jumps the middle and the lines start coming out of him. And more often than not, your healer is planning around having healing for that specific mechanic. Plus, Feint also reduces the damage that goes out, so you end up being very strong there, as a general rule. Another thing on this fight is if your tank's movement is good, the tank will usually try to position the boss. Oh, we're going to electrify both puddles? Or... oh, they're already electrified. Okay. They'll try to position the boss such that you can maintain uptime as a melee, while your like orb that's pursuing you goes through a puddle. But that's really a tank diff. Outside of that, there's not a whole lot of kind of optimization. Just try to maintain uptime as best as possible, and use your defensives correctly. We'll fast through it here a little bit. Oh, we go down to... that's unlucky. These electric puddles are not very forgiving. In this case, what you could do is shadow step your tank. This is often something I'll do, because if you even step in these electric puddles for a moment, they have a chance to stun you. I'm not sure if it's a chance or if it's guaranteed. But if you could step your tank here, that put you behind the tank, which puts you in a safe spot. And you can generally always assume your tank is in a safe position, right? Unless it's like during Gigazap. You get rezzed here. Take it a good time. We'll watch one last cooldown press. Proc a little mid-pull repair. Nicely done. Into our damage. Okay. One error. Do not rupture in your dance. I have to imagine you probably thought you pressed rupture. Yeah, okay, you know, I bet I've done this before. Where's your rupture? It's here, right? Okay, maybe you didn't. I've had instances where I think I pressed flag. Actually, not rupture. Sorry, that was confusing. I've had instances where I think I've pressed flag, but it's been like 1 second off of coming off cooldown, and then I go into my cooldowns and I don't have flag up, and I end up pressing it as a kind of compromise later into my cooldown set. So I was thinking you might have done the same thing here. But after we press like blades and we're in our dance, we don't want to rupture. So make sure you're applying this before you go into your blades window and into your dance window. And also the flag goes before, but I'm just going to assume that was an accident. I do like the Cold Blood Sectec here, because we had a kind of skewed our opener. We are for sure not going to be able to farm back a second secret technique. So just sending Cold Blood Sectec here is a good call. You recognize a mistake and you CB Sectec your first secret technique. All right, the boss is almost dead. So we're not going to get another cooldown press this fight. So what I'm looking to do is just burn through the rest of my dance and symbols charges. I assume we press soon here. Got dance and cymbals and sec tech. And I would slam my second cymbals during this dance, honestly. Let's see if we press it. Alright, it doesn't. Oh, we press it right at the tail end. Nice. Nicely done. Oh shit. Yo, shout out to Shindigs. In the party chat. I saw that. I saw that. Alright, sweet. Yo, Emma's vast improvement. You have come a long way since the first VOD review. There's a lot of really good stuff in here. And I hope the feedback that I discussed can help you and anyone else on the YouTube channel watching this, looking for some guidance, some advice, also improve. So good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one. Peace.